Welcome back to the Deep Dive. Today we're tackling something that probably keeps a lot of business leaders up at night. Disruption.
Yeah, it's everywhere.
Right. Whether it's, a hurricane, a flood, or maybe a cyber attack, just grinding everything to a halt.
Yeah,
The threat's just always there.
absolutely.
So I'm really keen to get into the weeds of business continuity and disaster recovery, BCDR as they call it.
Uh-huh.
And together, let's try to cut through the noise and figure out, well, not just what it is, but how it actually saves businesses.
Mm.
Think of this as your shortcut to really understanding why BCDR is vital.
And what pitfalls to watch out for.
Exactly. And how to build that resilience you need, to protect your market share, your future.
And the stats really back this up. It's quite stark, actually. More than 77% of companies, they don't have proper disaster recovery plans.
77%.
Or they lack the resources to actually use them if something happens. And the fallout is, well, it's harsh. Between 40 and 60% of businesses never reopen after a major disaster.
That high.
Yeah. And 90% say the impact was high. Over half, 54%, face really long downtimes. So it's not just about bouncing back.
No.
It's about not becoming a statistic, right? Where your market share just vanishes.
That's a sobering thought. But okay, understanding why things go wrong and learning from those failures, that's the mission today, right?
Precisely.
So for this deep dive, we've pulled insights from industry reports, analyses of some big real-world failures, and some pretty interesting modern solutions too.
Good stuff to dig into.
Definitely. So, okay, let's start with the battlefield itself. What kind of threats are we actually facing?
Well, when people think disaster, they often jump to natural events, floods, fires.
Sure, the obvious ones.
And yeah, they absolutely pose risks.
Yeah.
Power outages, you can't get to the office, security issues.
Mm-hmm.
But what's really striking from the data is that technical failures and cyber attacks, they're the lion's share of disruptions now.
Really? More than natural disasters?
By a significant margin, yes. And here's the kicker. The human element. It's massive. Nearly half, 44% of security incidents in 2024 involved someone just, using a web browser. Malicious redirects, downloading malware.
It's just regular web browsing.
Pretty much. And globally, 74% of all data breaches, they involve a human element somewhere. Clicking a phishing link is the classic example.
74%. That's
Yeah,
wild. I always picture these like shadowy hackers in basements.
Well, sometimes it is, but often the door is open from the inside, even accidentally.
So it's just us making mistakes.
Often, yeah. Think about it this way. Imagine you run a seasonal business. Maybe fireworks for the 4th of July or a beach resort in summer.
Right. Peak season is everything.
Exactly. For them, even a few hours of downtime because someone clicked the wrong link or a system failed, it's catastrophic. That's revenue they just can't get back.
A direct hit to the bottom line.
Okay. So traditionally, dealing with this risk, the DR side meant lots of expensive failover hardware.
Right. Spare servers, backup sites.
Yeah, keeping a big inventory of PCs just in case, costly backup storage. And it was heavy on labor, too. Implementation, testing, recovery. It took people and time.
And did it work? I mean, true continuity.
Often, not really. It was more about recovery after the disaster, not keeping things running through it seamlessly. Business continuity wasn't always maintained.
Gotcha.
So newer things came along, virtualization, cloud services. They definitely helped fill some gaps, reduced risk for certain disasters.
Okay, so progress.
Progress, yes, but they bring their own baggage. Potential latency when you fail over. Maybe not all business functions work right away, and sometimes the costs can be unpredictable.
So not a magic bullet then.
Not quite. They solve some problems, maybe introduce others.
Which brings us to the critical point. What happens when, even with the best plans, things still go wrong? Because they always seem to.
They do, and that's why looking at major failures is so important. It's not just about the money lost.
Right, the reputation hit can be huge.
Massive, sometimes unrecoverable. So learning from these cases is, well, it's essential. It shows you vulnerabilities you might never have considered.
Okay, let's dig into some case files then.
All right. First up, CrowdStrike, July 19th, 2024. A security update they pushed out caused one of the biggest IT outages ever.
I remember that. It was huge.
Affected about 8.5 million Windows devices. Airlines, hospitals, banks, media. Fortune 500 companies lost an estimated $5.4 billion.
Billion. Wow. So the lesson is just test your updates.
Well, Yes, but it's deeper. It showed our over-reliance on automation and maybe vendors doing the testing perfectly, and with fewer people on site now.
You can't just run down and fix it manually.
Exactly. Many places lacked the staff for manual workarounds. It highlights the need for a human in the loop, for critical oversight.
Okay, makes sense. What's next?
Then there was the FAA, January 11, 2023. Their NOTAM system went down for hours.
Grounded thousands of flights.
Yep, root cause, a deleted file. But the real problem was the old legacy system it ran on. No high availability built in.
So outdated tech made it much worse.
Absolutely. And the lesson here, especially if you can't just rip out legacy systems, is you need other strategies. Like, how do you test without stopping operations? How do you build in availability? How do you know your backups are good?
Adapting to the tech you have, not just wishing for new stuff.
Precisely.
Okay, you also mentioned Microsoft Azure and Office had a big outage.
Yeah, January 2023 again. Major global outage hit Europe hard, caused by a bad routing change deep in their own infrastructure.
So even the cloud giants aren't immune. What does that tell cloud users?
It tells us there's no single cloud fix. Just being in the cloud isn't enough.
Right.
Big companies can use multiple zones, basically, separate data centers far apart, no shared weak points.
Okay, redundancy.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Smaller businesses, they need to really understand and plan how to use the built-in DR tools their provider offers. It's not automatic. You need a plan to actually use those tools effectively when needed.
Pre-planning is key.
Always. Then OVH Cloud. In March 2021, they had a data center fire.
Oh yeah, that was bad. Destroyed the whole building.
One whole facility, yes. And critically, it took out a key backup array, too. Led to a $10 million class action lawsuit, massive reputation damage.
So the backups weren't safe either.
Some weren't, clearly. The lesson here is screamingly obvious. The 3-2-1 rule of backup.
Remind us.
3 copies of your data minimum on 2 different types of media, and at least 1 copy off-site, ideally offline. Simple concept, critical execution.
Got it. 3, 2, 1.
And finally, let's look at the NHS Foundation Trust in the UK. August 4, 2022, ransomware attack.
Hospitals, that's serious.
Very. It hit a major software provider they use. Took months to fix. Staff had to revert to pen and paper for patient care.
Wow, pen and paper.
Yeah. And what they uncovered during the cleanup was shadow IT. Systems employees had installed themselves without IT knowing or approving.
Hidden vulnerabilities.
Exactly. Creates unknown risks. It also highlighted how legacy systems often get neglected, cost more to maintain, and become weak points. The lesson: strict policies needed for any software or system installs. IT has to be involved.
It really makes you think, doesn't it?
Yeah.
How many hidden risks are out there, even in big organizations?
It's quite sobering.
So, okay, we've seen the failures. How do we actually build this resilience? What's the blueprint?
Well, it all starts with a solid business continuity plan, the BCP. It's absolutely critical.
Not just a document sitting on a shelf.
Definitely not. It takes time, it takes money, sure. But the ROI is huge. Protecting your people, your customers, your data. It's the difference between surviving and, well, not.
Okay, so how do you build one? What are the steps?
Our sources really break it down into 3 core phases: planning, responding, and recovering.
Makes sense. Let's start with planning.
Step 1, create or update your BCP. First, you need top management buy-in. Without their support, forget it. Then, set up a BCP committee. Do a business impact analysis. Figure out what's critical, what happens if it breaks, dependencies.
Really understand your own operations.
Exactly. Then evaluate needs, prioritize, figure out your strategy, your recovery process, develop templates, plan how you'll test it, and then actually test it rigorously.
Testing is key.
Absolutely. And review your service level agreements, your SLAs with vendors. What are they promising for uptime and recovery? Does it meet your needs? And finally, keep updating the plan. It's a living thing.
Okay, so you have the plan, then disaster strikes. Step
Yeah.
2.
Step 2, respond and implement. How you respond depends on the event, obviously. For natural disasters, assess physical damage. Maybe use drones or sensors if you have them. Activate remote work plans. Follow pre-agreed repair steps. Use resources like FEMA if applicable. Document everything for insurance. Notify your insurer. Schedule repairs. Follow regulations before reopening.
Lots to juggle. What about cyber attacks or system failures?
Different focus. Find the breach or failure point. Stop the spread. Contain it. Figure out what data was lost or compromised. Work with law enforcement, legal teams.
Right.
Access those secure offline backups you hopefully have. Resecure the environment. And definitely implement multi-factor authentication everywhere if you haven't already. It's a huge barrier.
Okay, response phase done. Then what?
Step 3, recover and return to normal. Get expert help, cybersecurity folks, to assess the damage fully and, importantly, help you improve your defenses going forward.
Learn from it.
Absolutely. Deploy your BCP teams as planned. Communicate clearly employees, customers, public. Ensure the workplace is safe if it was a physical event. Rebuild your supply chain connections. Use those remote access tools.
And the final piece.
Evaluate how well your response actually worked. Where were the gaps? What could be better? And feed those lessons right back into step one, updating your BCP. It's a cycle.
A continuous improvement cycle. That makes a lot of sense. And it links back to basic good practices, right? Software updates, training people, maybe cyber insurance.
Exactly. They all work together as layers of defense and preparedness.
So speaking of tools and layers, let's maybe look at a modern solution that tackles some of these issues head on, especially around recovering all those PCs.
Yeah.
Swimmage.
Right. Swimmage is an interesting example of a solution focused specifically on PC recovery at scale and very quickly. It's designed to rebuild one PC or hundreds or thousands in minutes.
Minutes. How?
It uses a clever approach. It proactively creates a secure local recovery space on each PC itself. Think of it like a mini gold image, but stored locally and kept constantly validated.
So it doesn't rely on pulling a huge image over the network during a crisis.
Exactly. That's a key difference. It means it can rebuild even if the network is down or slow, and it's incredibly fast. And it's designed to be zero touch, even for remote workers. The employee just gets their machine back, fully configured apps, settings, data, compliance, like nothing happens.
So for you listening, what does that mean practically?
Yeah. Well, several things. First, speed and reliability. We're talking potentially cutting PC recovery downtime by over 80%, rebuilding a crashed or infected machine in maybe under 15 minutes. And it's reliable because that local recovery source is constantly checked.
Okay, speed's huge.
What else? Remote management and automation. It works anywhere, office, home, offline, manages remote devices just like local ones, supports self-service repair, cutting out those expensive desk visits, handles limited internet too.
Addresses that human element and remote work challenge.
Definitely. And finally, security and compliance. It automatically enforces your company's security policies during the rebuild, wipes out malware or ransomware instantly, meets tough standards like SOC2, HIPAA, FIPS+, full audit logs.
And it keeps the user's data safe.
Yeah. Data typically stays on the device during the rebuild, which is often a big security plus. It restores the whole PC personality.
Impressive. Is this widely used, affordable?
It's used globally, over 85 countries. Very common in regulated sectors, healthcare, finance, government places where security and rapid recovery are paramount. And surprisingly, the cost can start pretty low per machine, making it accessible.
Interesting. Okay, so as we wrap up here, the takeaway seems pretty clear. Proactive BCDR planning isn't just, nice to have.
No, it's absolutely essential. Being unprepared in today's world is just incredibly risky.
It's the difference between resilience and vulnerability.
Right. Having that solid strategy, using modern tools, testing it, that's what builds real resilience.
Planning, implementing, updating. That seems to be the mantra.
It truly can be the difference between thriving after a disruption or becoming another statistic. It's not a cost center. It's an investment in survival.
So a final thought for you to take away, especially after hearing about shadow IT and all those human errors, what hidden risks, maybe from systems people installed on their own or just overlooked processes, might be lurking in your organization's digital corners? And how ready are you, really, for that inevitable human element in the next disruption?